Angus, it's one thing to make big announcements that look pretty, but like having a nurse, qualified person, 24/7 at every aged care with the right kind of ratio, et cetera, they weren't able to deliver that. They promised it, but they weren't able to deliver. How do you make sure they deliver this?
Well, exactly right. And we have been deeply concerned about what's been happening in aged care. I've seen aged care facilities close down in and around where I live, and it's been drastic and dramatic for those communities, and of deep concern. So we will be holding to the government to account on those outcomes. Well, as I say, we've been working with them in good faith. We think there's some areas of policy where it's absolutely crucial. Both sides give every possible chance for success. And we've certainly been doing this in the aged care area. And as I say, ultimately the goal here is to have a sustainable sector and a sustainable budget at the same time.
In a major blow to Treasurer Jim Chalmers' attempts to pass through his RBA reforms, the AFR has reported that 3 former governors have also voiced their opposition to any changes to the members who set interest rates. Ian Macfarlane, Bernie Fraser and Philip Lowe all want the current structure of the central bank to remain the same, or existing board members to continue setting interest rates. Angus, you withdrew your in-principle support for the RBA reforms over the exact same reason, the board structure. You say it's because a new specialist interest rate setting board could be stacked with Labor-aligned figures. Is that the case?
That's absolutely right. We've been concerned from the start that the Treasurer would sack and stack the board, would sack the current members and stack it with his people. And the truth is, we're in a situation right now, Erin, where the government and the Treasurer are failing in the fight against inflation. Our inflation is higher and more persistent than any other major advanced country in the world. We're seeing interest rates coming down right across the world, in Europe, in the UK, in Canada. We'll see them soon in the US, no doubt, but not here. So the government's failing, and so it wants to blame the Reserve Bank and get control of the Reserve Bank. That's what it's seeking to do because of the failure in its policies. There's a lot the government can do to bring down inflation, and it should focus on those things, not focus on sacking and stacking the Reserve Bank board.
Is the Treasurer panicking at the moment, do you think?
Oh, I think he's completely panicked because he's out of touch and he's out of his depth. That's shown up very clearly in recent times. He set off a war of words against the Reserve Bank because he's looking for excuses. He's looking to shift the blame, and he simply doesn't know how to do his job. Well, if he'd got it right from the start, we'd be seeing inflation coming down faster, interest rates coming down. We'd see Australian standard of living much higher than it is. We've seen a collapse in Australian standard of living, which is higher, or the bigger collapse, than any other OECD country since Labor came to power. Our standard of living has been in free fall. There's no plan to restore it. And this Treasurer is panicked. You're absolutely right, Erin.